taking an interest in this Notion template. I like to point out that it's more than just a template, but it's a framework to help run the engineering department, especially for early startups who don't have a lot of cash and they want to get the most out of compliance. So this framework will actually help unblock sales and make sure that engineering stays on top of changes and puts a little bit of best practice in here. So let's dive into how we can use this. You'll see a couple of things first. There's a compliance status and a risk chart. You can kind of click on them and see which items are overdue, which ones are due soon, and they kind of work off the same backing database. So very quickly, people will be able to go in. Hey, here are all my policies. These are the things I need to be aware of. Here are the core audiences. So you can determine right away which ones I should look at. If you look into them, they're actually full-fledged policies. You can update them to make sure that you stay compliant. Um, and it's up to your organization to actually do the implementation detail in terms of putting in the controls and everything in CI/CD and all that. These are very sensible defaults to get started. It'll save you a lot of time. So if we go back to the main database, there's a formula field here. It'll calculate based on the number of days. A lot of compliance requires that the documents be reviewed at a certain period. So you can adjust those formulas if you want. The same ideas with the risks as well, but you can also put target dates on them to make sure that you're tackling them nice and early, and if they're on track or not. So those are, from a high level overview, the main policies. There's a bunch of them in there with a lot of sensible defaults. You can go in and modify them. And the unlocker here for sales in particular is, ISO and SOC2. A lot of people won't do business with you unless you have it. It saves a lot of time as well. I remember that I had one enterprise client ask for a 3 to 4 month special audit process if we didn't have SOC2 at the time. And that will tie up a lot of resources, especially when you have an early startup. There's limited number of people who can actually work on stuff. You want them to be working on more feature based stuff. You can't really lock them up for several months just to go through a special process for that enterprise. And you have to do that per enterprise. So by getting the compliance early, then you can kind of skip a lot of that stuff. Anyway, to unlock sales, common documents like the latest audits and reports, they often get asked through vendor questionnaires. So you can have quick shortcuts to this to sales. This is a PDF. You can give them the PDF report and off you go. Nice and done. So there's a filter view there. A lot of potential customers also ask, hey, who are your sub-processors? You can add them through here. You can the salespeople can do a quick export and send it off to the client. Now, another important part is in terms of change management, in terms of architectural changes, making sure you do due diligence and security and data. The best practice is to have design documents, and design documents will lay all those out. So there is a design document database with all and there's a template as well. So whenever there's a big architectural change or really any kind of major change, engineers should be creating a design document, and there's various different status and states. So at a very high level overview, engineers can come to this dashboard, check out, hey, what are the upcoming design documents that can list a future date when it's ready for review. So all your engineers can go in there and critique the document, make sure that they're aware of the changes, and make comments on that so that you're building the best thing that you can. So that's pretty important, and you have a documented decision log and everything to go back. So all those artifacts are pretty important, especially when you want to make future changes that iterate upon them. There's a bunch of other stuff here as well that will help you with SOC 2 and ISO in particular. So you need a physical inventory, you need MDM. There's some common things like software development lifecycle. That's a pretty big doc later, actually in that one. All those documents are included in the core policies and runbooks. So quick shortcut for your engineers to go straight there if they need to manage runbooks. Now also included in that is a couple of AI agents. So I built these on Relevance AI as a platform, and you can build agentic workflows there. You can clone them just by clicking on these links. And we'll go through what that looks like here. So the first one, the policy notifier, if you clone that one, it'll query this database. You need to put in your database ID, which you just get by just the URL once you click on core policies. And it'll find all the due soon or overdue ones, and it'll send an email to your team on what they are. So if you go to this one, here's my risk notifier. It gets all the latest documents using this tool, and it sends an email using your Gmail account. So I have to send it to my Outlook account, and this is what it potentially looks like. I say potential because LLMs are non-deterministic, so the formatting might look a little bit different. But yeah, it'll notify your team in a timely manner. And if you wanna actually change something based on your policies, or how your company has grown, you can use the policy manager. You'll need to make sure that you have created in the settings page a connected integration app for Notion. You'll need to grab that API key and add it to your agent so they can use that. All right, so this is the prompt for the agent, and I actually have some runs here. So when I last ran it, I asked it, find me the latest documents I need to look at. My company has gone through significant growth, and I need a way to manage developers who can now have access to customer data to debug issues. Customer data now exists across more than one region. So in this case, it ran get policies that need looking at as a tool. So that means it'll query my Notion database. It'll read the policies, and it'll actually make a suggestion. So here I found 3 overdue policies. It'll summarize the key points. So the data retention disposal was overdue at that time, actually. I've adjusted it recently, so it does more than just overdue. Let's just check the overdue ones. Yeah. So here, the data retention and disposal, it is overdue. So here are the key summary and principles. And given that we've experienced significant growth, developers now have access to customer data for debugging, and data exists across multiple geographical regions. It makes some sensible suggestions, actually. So temporary access controls, data masking, anonymization, audit trails, these are all pretty important, and it'll ask you additional questions and suggest changes to your policy. And that's all included in the template. If there's any feedback or if you'd like to know more, please send me an email. Thanks.